Just work, just work, just work, just work. Work, now work.
Hello everyone, welcome to another video. If you're new, my name is Joanna Wilson. It's been a hot minute since we have uploaded on anywhere actually on YouTube. I've been maintaining a cadence on my main channel, but the second channel and this chat channel have sort of been quiet for about a month. I've been refining my processes and understanding how I want everything to work and how I move forward so I can more regularly upload and bring joy and videos and entertainment and information to your screens. With the first video of many that is going to be coming throughout the summer of 2023, and it's a solo chat. I think I'm going to record a couple more solo chats because I do have a lot to talk about myself, and I love the chat videos and hearing things from other people's perspectives, but I do have a lot of topics that I just have opinions on and want to share as well. Today's chat video is going to be about self-employment. I'm going to be talking through what it actually means to be self-employed, when you're self-employed, having a balance between your work and your life, and what it means sort of from a tax perspective, from an hours perspective, from how you run your life and business perspective. I'm also then going to talk a little bit about myself and self-employment. So when and why I became self-employed. First things first, what is self-employment? So I'm pretty sure this is a global thing, but a lot of the things I'm going to talk about are from the point of the UK, because obviously the UK is where I live and where I know about. Self-employment is basically where you work for yourself, essentially. So you don't get paid by an employer. You're not employed by a company and they pay you. You basically offer a product, a service, a business, and direct to consumer, you get paid from them. So for example, my mum is a hairdresser and she is self-employed. She has clients come to the house, get their hair cut or coloured, and they pay her in cash or card. She earns her own money. She is self-employed. One of the key differences in the UK between self-employment and employment is actually tax. So all of the personal tax brackets across the UK are the same. We could go into that in a whole other video if people wanted to. However, when you are employed, the company that you are employed by pay your tax for you, and you just receive the payment from them after tax. When you are self-employed, you receive all of your money from your consumer, from people who are buying your products, from your customer, and then at the end of the year, you have to add up everything that you've earned, fill in a self-assessment, and then you have to pay the government your tax based on the gross income that you've had, minus any costs that it has taken to run your business throughout that year. The second one is obviously when you're employed by a business, you will get a set number of hours per week and you will know exactly when you go into work and when you are not working. And there is a very clear cut-off between those things. A lot of hours, depending on the job, is 8-4, 9-5 if it's office work. It might be in the evenings if it's bar work. It could be a combination of the two depending on where you work and what you're doing. But you have set hours for that job. Self-employment is a little bit different. Again, it's all on your terms. So you could work 2 hours a day if you wanted to, or you could work 20 hours a day if you wanted to. And it just depends on where you're at with your business or whatever it is that you're doing for self-employment, what you're trying to achieve with it, what time of the year it is, etc., etc. Also, for employed people, they get a set number of days off per year. They get a set number of annual leave days where they will still get paid for their job. If you're self-employed, you don't do that. So if you take time off and you have not got a system in place where you're sort of earning passive income that you can take time off and still money can be coming in, then you are not earning any money. Why would someone become self-employed? I think it very much depends on the industry that you're in, and a couple of industries lead more towards self-employment. So for example, my mum being a hairdresser, and I'm using this example quite a lot, but that is an industry that leads towards self-employment because you do a set number of clients, and the more clients you do, the more you get paid, the less you do, the less you get paid. And it is a service that you are providing for a set amount of money. There are quite a lot of other industries like that lend themselves more towards self-employment. There are also people who are building small businesses, and they might be service-based businesses or they might be product-based businesses, depending on what people are doing. And then also there might be people who are self-employed that are aiming towards achieving larger businesses. So for example, we're trying to grow and build Niall Wilson Gymnastics as a really large business. And as you grow as a business, somebody who's self-employed to begin with might then start trading under the name of a limited company, and then that limited company might start then employing people itself. So then that goes full cycle. One of the pros of employment over self-employment is you've got that security of work. So you know that you're going to work X number of hours a week and you're going to get paid X amount at the end of every week or every month, depending on how much work you've done. And that is guaranteed, whereas all self-employment is unstable, unguaranteed. You might get 50 clients one month for whatever it is that you're offering, or you might get 2 the next month. So it can be a little bit more rocky and unstable from an income and a work perspective to be self-employed versus employment. Another thing that's worth saying as well is it's very much a feel thing. Like, some people love being self-employed and other people couldn't think of anything worse. So not only does it depend on the industry that you're in, but it also just depends on how you work and operate as a person. It's not better or worse to be either of the two. And I think some people sometimes think it is more desirable to be your own boss and do things on your own time, which definitely is one of the pros of self-employment. But actually, that doesn't work for some people. Some people would much prefer to know when they're working, to know what they're doing, and to know how much they're getting paid at the end of the month. And I think that's something to shout out on this. Like, in this video, I am not glorifying self-employment as something that is better than employment. So, my journey then. I have been officially self-employed for 5 years now. The first tax return that I filed for self-employment was 2018 to 2019. And that's really when I started earning some serious money from things that I was doing alongside my studies. So I actually graduated in 2019, the summer of. So this 2018 to 2019 was when I started doing most of my Just Work stuff. When I was at Cambridge University, you are not allowed to technically get a job whilst at university. But what I started doing at uni was a couple of things. The first one was tutoring, and I started doing one-to-one sessions for science and maths, and I started also doing mindset sessions with people, and they were just one-off hour-long sessions. That was coupled with me basically working for Niall, with Niall, on a couple of his businesses that he was involved in at that period of time. So the Body Bible, his online fitness business, and NW Clothing, when we launched all of the merch. Now, also at uni, I had a couple of employed jobs like in between. So over the summers, I did a little bit of work for my uni. I did some summer work in hospitality. I did some summer work for NCS. I basically, particularly over the summer, just did bits and bobs that I could to earn. For a period of 2 to 3 years, I was a mixture between being self-employed and earning my own money through my tutoring and via Niall, and employed. That was until September 2019, when I started working at Newton. So from September 2019 to January 2020, I had a full-time role at Newton in recruitment. So this was the consultancy that I then went to work for the following year. So that was my first sort of taste of 9 to 5 and what that looked like. And to be honest, I absolutely loved that job. It was so much fun. We got to travel around the country. We were all fantastic friends by the end of it. We basically got all of the fun side of working at Newton without much of the pressure of being an actual consultant, which is cheeky but was so nice. And alongside that, I was still doing bits of tutoring. That had ramped right down because obviously I was working full-time in an office, but I was also working away from home. I'd say that the balance was good. I did make it work. And that was until January 2020, when I then went travelling for 3 months before COVID. So when I was travelling and all the way throughout COVID until November, I was back to being self-employed. There was a key switch with this though, because in October 2019, I incorporated Just Work, ta-da, as a limited company. So the dynamics of being self-employed, I mean, I was still self-employed, but the dynamics of just where the money went changed a little bit because I was now a limited company rather than just being a sole trader and being self-employed. I feel like I'm doing a life story right now. In November 2020, I started back working full-time at Newton as a consultant. And what I did at this point was I kept my whole pay-as-you-earn wage from Newton, my employment wage, and then anything that I earned that was not that wage then started going into the limited company rather than to me as a self-employed person. In October 2021, I then left my job at Newton and became fully self-employed again and have been fully self-employed since. So that was a very long tale from 2018 to now. And I can show you that I've had a combination of being employed and self-employed, and they've crossed paths at points. They've been solely one at points and not the other. And like I say, I've reaped the pros and the cons of both. One of the biggest questions when it comes to self-employment is about balance between your work and your life. And when you work for yourself, you are always switched on and ready to go. You're always working. When you're not working, you're thinking about work. When you're thinking about work, you're not present in other situations. Somebody actually said to me, like, you either need to choose whether you're going to be self-employed and work loads, or whether you're going to be employed and have a better work-life balance and have a family and start doing that sort of things. Being self-employed, you can work whenever you want to work. So when you have a baby, you could do no work for 2 years, for 5 years, for 12 years, if you wanted to. Also, when you're self-employed, if you're not working, you're not earning any money, depending on how you've set up your small business or your larger business or whatever it is that you're doing. There's some really good techniques that people who are self-employed can use with regards separating that work and life if you want to. I never like to call it a work-life balance because I think they're intrinsically linked. It's how you blend, in my opinion, your work and your life that I think is really important, and how much you want to blend your work and your life. So there's some really simple techniques. For example, separating where you work and where you don't work so that they feel like two separate areas of your life, and you come, even if it's a separation in your house, even if it's a different room that you work in, and when you finish work, you close that door and work is finished. That's a really great technique to be able to do that. Also, being self-employed, you are capable of setting your hours. So if you're self-employed, but you also want to only work a 9-5 every day, then set your hours to work a 9-5. You are in control of when you work and when you don't work. So those are really like two quite practical tips. Another thing that I heard recently, actually from Ash, from something that he'd seen online, which has just resonated with me so much, is a lot of people end up living in lives where when they're at work, they're thinking about being at the beach and being with their family, and they don't want to be at work and they want to be at the beach. When they're at the beach, they're thinking about work and the work that they haven't done. And you end up in this cycle where you're never actually at the beach, because when you're at work, you're at the beach, but you're not physically at the beach. It's just the beach in your head. And when you're at the beach, you're at work, so you're not at the beach either. And I think it's something that we can all practice, and me and Ash say it to each other now all the time, is be at the beach. So when you know that you're going out with your family or with your friends, or you're doing something, and in the back of your mind, you know you've got a lot of things to be on top of and to do, you have to be at the beach. You have to park it, else you will never be at the beach. You'll never have those times where you just like solely present and in with family and with friends. If you take anything from this video, be at the beach the next time that you're at the beach. I guess the last thing on that work-life blend or balance point is that you just got to decide what works for you. My work and my life are like so intertwined and intrinsically linked. And I love that. I don't want it to be any different. I don't want it to be separate. I love to work and I love my family and I love my boyfriend and I love my friends, and quite a lot of all of that overlaps and it really works for me. The thing that you need to get stronger at is just setting boundaries when they need to be set. And that's something that I've developed quite a lot on in the last 18 months, is even if it's just in your mind rather than like it vocally being, I'm going to set a boundary with you, just knowing when and where to set boundaries. The last little point I wanted to make just on self-employment was how to value yourself. When people are employed, you generally just get paid an hourly rate, and that's sort of your value to that company for that work that you're doing. When you're self-employed, you have to put that value on yourself, and it's a little bit difficult sometimes and a little bit awkward. And I generally just think there's a couple of things that it goes down to. Firstly, whatever you think you're worth, you're probably worth more. We have a tendency as human beings to massively undervalue ourselves. So that's just something to think about in general. The next thing I would say as well is it comes down to experience. If you are a hairdresser, I'm using this example a lot, but you're just out of college, you're newly qualified, your prices are probably going to be lower until you get that experience under your belt, get really good at what you do, and slowly but surely your prices increase. Couple of pieces of advice on pricing yourself. I'd look out there and see what other people are charging for the same service or product or thing that you're offering, because that's going to give you a very good indication. I'd think about your dream scenario of how much you would be paid for your time for a certain thing, and then I'd think about your experience and how you're going to work from your starting point to that dream scenario whilst gaining experience in whatever craft it is that you are working in. I think that's everything to talk about on self-employment. It is a topic that I could talk about for hours. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to have plenty more solo chat videos coming your way very soon. Let me know in the comments what else you would love me to talk about on my own. I will see you in the next one. Keep smashing it and remember, anything is possible if you just work. Bye!
Work, now. Work.